When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle.
Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish,
the podcast where we can't top. We won't top. We take meds that cause ED. We have situational anxiety. We can't top. No, we won't top. We bottom, we douche nightly. Don't eat nothing but salad greens. Yeah, yeah. Ooh. 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 Yeah, yeah.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle, the Miley gets.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality, and today, that was magical, Kyle.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Today we are not talking about Miley Cyrus because no one fucking voted for her, but we are going to talk about her on our bonus episode because even though you didn't vote for her, you and I voted for her and want to talk about her.
I voted for her in my heart.
Me too. My heart voted for her. I picked her, so yeah. But anyway, we're going to talk about sex tourism.
We're going to talk about sex tourism, which is just a blatant ratings grab on my part. So.
Well, it worked because that's what everyone fucking voted for because like the word sex is in it. Y'all are dirty, horny motherfuckers and you deserve this.
You sluts.
You dirty slut. Take what we give you.
Take it.
Because you love it.
Take it.
And I love y'all for it.
But first,
I have a correction.
Okay.
Did you have something?
Did I fuck up again?
No, I did.
Oh, okay, great.
This is from AE. I mentioned Dr. Oz as someone who just said they're like, we should just lie and say we have a doctorate. And I mentioned like Dr. Oz. AE corrected me, and Dr. Oz has an MD in cardiology and used to work as a professor of surgery at, this is from AE's email, a professor of surgery at Columbia University. I'm picking out pieces that I wanted to quote. I have no interest in defending him, but one, I wanted to clarify that point. And two, I think it's worth pointing out that just because he's turned quack doesn't mean that he never had any credentials. Maybe he believes in the nonsense he sells, maybe not, but he's not the kind of liar that Kyle was railing against. Honestly, I don't know which kind of liar is worse or more dangerous.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
think there's a level of ineptitude that's dangerous. But but I'm more scared of the intelligent evil.
Oh, interesting. I have another fear.
What's that?
That our system of licensure and qualification gives us the feeling of safety, and the number of fuck faces that are idiots that make it through that safety net should make us question the safety net.
Yeah, but like it's. It's going to be imperfect. Like we shouldn't be clarifying your political positions to get a doctorate. Like, Anyway, thank you for saying that. Also, I will add that AE also said, quote, as for Mike dropping his drawers all the way to go potty, I'm very confused by this. I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. Don't, Mike, but I don't understand what's going on.
Okay, here, fine. Everyone shut up. I hereby commit to the next time I poop.
Okay.
Taking a picture of where my clothing is.
Well,
and everyone can weigh in.
Are you imagining this helping your case?
I'm imagining it. No, there's some people have been like giving me benefit of the doubt that I don't deserve.
You said it.
I just want to be.
You just want to put your nasty right out there in their face and be like, "You look at my nasty." It's like when I hold my dog's face in his poop, and it's look at what you've done.
Oh yeah. Well, here's
what I'm doing.
Next time, I think I'm gonna have to shit. I'm gonna take my socks and shoes off too, just so I get that sweet foot action going. And
Ew, why are your feet wet, Mike? Don't worry about it. That's not information that's for you. It's for Patreon or whatever.
Yep.
Okay, that was my update or my correction.
You didn't have more than one? I thought you
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, also then feedback. Anecdotally, at least in my worlds, which are largely Facebook and Discord, people had a lot of opinions about Twary the Twonk. And they ranged from, he's hilarious and I love him, to please God, make it stop. I want him to die. He received 1 death threat.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Twary doesn't have to live with that death threat. You, the person that made the death threat, have to live with that. That's on you, not Twary.
Absolutely. I'm
gonna fucking kill you back. Okay, now you both have to live with it. I stand corrected.
Oh God.
The thing is, the more you try to make it not happen, the more it's gonna happen.
Okay.
I voted for Dr. Oz.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Here's the thing everyone needs to know about you, Kyle. You like to play chicken and win.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
I mean who's gonna blink, who's gonna flinch.
Oh,
like you will. You're not a backer downer. You're a keep going until it's funny again.
I'm sexually aroused by Nancy Pelosi, and as a Republican, that scares me. Twary.
I forgot Twary's a Republican. Thanks,
yeah. Oh,
Twary.
yeah. No, that's a weird thing to say, Twary. You said you were gay.
All right, I'm gonna save all of us. Here's the news.
Shut your mouth hole.
No, not yet.
What?
We are doing a survey.
Oh, that's right. I asked you if you had another thing, and you're like,
I had no more corrections, but another thing.
God. We're so good at this.
Now you shut up. Okay. Now you shut up, and I talk. We're doing Hey, Mike.
Talk about the survey.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike. I will. We're doing a survey. We've never done this before, but we want your input on what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show, hopefully constructive feedback to help make everything better. That includes the show. That includes our Patreon. We just want to know more about who you are and learn from you, and I don't know, hopefully y'all will help us out, tell us your honest opinions in a nice way. You can find the survey. It's going on this month, so by the end of the month, make sure you fill it out. gayishpodcast.com/survey. That will redirect you to a SurveyMonkey link, and we will be giving 3. If you want to put in your email address, you'll be entered into a drawing to win a $50 gift certificate to Gay Pride Apparel. They are an LGBT-owned pride clothes. They sell
apparel.
Clothes and stuff. They do apparel. It's in the name. Why do you need to explain this to you? Stupid. Fill it out. It'll be very helpful for us. And, if there's anything you want us to know or do to make the show better, we want to hear about it.
We're going to finger our audience. Says Pulse.
And if they're still alive, hopefully they'll fill this out. So yeah, do that.
Do it.
Now here's the news.
Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News
the first. Maura Healey has been sworn in as this country's first lesbian governor.
Wow.
Maura Healey is now officially the first out lesbian governor in the United States. She's a Democrat. Weird. Was sworn in last Thursday as governor of Massachusetts. She's also the first woman to be governor of the state of Massachusetts. She and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll are the first pair of women to hold the top 2 offices in any state.
Wow.
So good job, Massachusetts.
They're not just coming for the top. They're coming for the top and the top middle.
Yeah, exactly. And also today, the day that we're taping this, Monday the 9th, the second lesbian governor in United States history was inaugurated in the state of Oregon. Democrat, weird, Tina Kotek, not Kotex, Tina Kotek.
Oh no.
Was sworn in as Oregon's governor Monday, joining Healey as the first out lesbian governors in our nation's history.
Congrats.
Yeah.
To us.
Congrats, lesbians.
And America.
Yeah. I think it's really great. But we say this a lot, firsts keep happening, and a lot of them kind of, you wonder why it hadn't already happened. And like lesbians get shit done. I would have expected a lesbian governor before now.
First governor. Yeah, this is a surprise that the first, we're in that period, I think, past when things have become more acceptable, but we don't realize how in certain areas like politics, like in sports, things are behind and, we're regressing in other areas like trans rights and drag queens who had that on their list of like, watch out, they're coming for us. So it's just, we're in this weird space where there's both acceptance and strong non-acceptance. And so, that's awesome that some of these firsts that I thought had probably already happened are happening.
Yep. Well, I will also say Healy's inauguration party was held Thursday night, and the event was headlined by Brandi Carlile.
I don't know who that is.
Known lesbian singer-songwriter Brandi Carlile.
Oh, great.
She's Healy said, quote, I knew if I had the opportunity to choose one person who's going to play at our inauguration, it was going to be Brandi Carlile. And so she did.
Already making shit happen.
Yeah. News the second.
Yeah.
What, I forget exactly how you put it, but like who had drag queens are coming for us?
No, they're who thought that they would come after our drag queens? Like, I just didn't have that on my radar at all. I thought with RuPaul's Drag Race, I thought we were making progress. I thought that was just making people see how amazing, and like people have been like going to bars and watching that. That's put drag queens mainstream, and that's done so much. But I mean, conservative's gonna conservative.
Yep. Speaking of which, the state of Arizona just started their legislative session, and two Republican, weird, Arizona lawmakers have opened the legislative session by throwing out 3 bills specifically fucking with drag queens and drag shows. So State Senator Anthony Kern filed one bill that would ban drag performances during certain hours, trying to get rid of drag brunches. And listen, you fucker, don't fuck with brunch.
Don't fuck with our drag brunches. Are you serious? Have you ever been to you cannot go to a drag brunch and dislike it. You have never set foot in a drag brunch. It is an amazing experience.
So the drag brunch bill, or if you want to call it that, says that a drag show can't take place between 1 a.m. and 8 a.m. Monday through Saturday, or between 1 a.m. and noon on Sundays.
This sounds like liquor. It sounds like they're liquor. Like if we ban it during this time, no one will go out and try to buy, drag queens from the grocery store. Like, that's so weird.
Yeah. Well, and it puts drag shows in the same category for regulation purposes as performances featuring nudity. Another bill prohibits them drag shows on public property or any location where they could be viewed by a minor, which that sounds like fucking Russia, you shitbirds. And lastly, a bill to ban the use of state funds for drag shows that target minors. Which, really, it's like this. Why? This is what you're spending your time on?
These
Arizona?
Are your priorities. There's a mass shooting every other day in our country, and you're like, drag queens.
Yeah.
Mostly dudes who fucking put on a dress and paint and go out and dance or read books to kids. That's too far over the line.
Yep. Well, there's a who is this person? Richard Stevens is a Phoenix area entertainer who performs in drag as Barbara Seville, said on a station KJZZ, it's KJZ, that that anti-drag legislation, quote, is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, this is the bathroom bills too. Like that problem was not a thing.
Yep. The angertainment that you keep reading about, it's where you raise money and you get clicks by trying to outrage people. Fuck you, Republicans, you're dickbag assholes, and I hate you. I hope you all die.
Except if you listen to this show. Keep living so you can keep hitting that play button. Love those downloads.
The thing that's wrapped up into this that I just really, really hate is this, I think, pretty new rhetoric that drag shows are sexual. Not that they allude to sex sometimes, or that sexuality is a part of what it's happening. This rhetoric on the right that drag is sex, that it is lewd in and of itself, even if it's just if she's just in a fabulous dress and standing there lip syncing, that is sexual.
Yeah,
and that's the fuel behind these these bills, right? We have to regulate it as if it were nudity. We have to regulate it to make sure that no minors see it. It's just so fucking stupid.
They view us as obscene. The people we are, our community, everyone in our community, they view us as obscene just by existing.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, I'm pretty obscene.
Well, but that's the thing. Some of us are obscene, but also you would probably tailor that towards the time and place. You wouldn't sit in a Salesforce meeting and say, fuck all you goddamn cunt assholes. Like you would probably.
You don't know what I do with my dick.
I nor do I need or want to. But just like, it's just, it doesn't matter. They don't understand that we are not this image they've created of us. They just view our existence as obscene.
Yep, absolutely. Sorry, drag queens.
That sucks.
It's also, by the way, not expected to pass because Arizona has a brand new Democrat governor who she has already expanded LGBT rights for state employees on her first day in office.
Oh, amazing.
So it's unlikely that even if they were to get momentum in the legislature, that any of these would be signed by her. So
that's a veto.
Yeah.
That's going to be a veto.
News the last.
Great.
Okay, great. The American Dialect Society, who apparently takes longer to get their shit together than other things that we've talked about, has talked about their 2022 word of the year. Did you hear this already?
I saw something, and if it's what I think it is, I hate it.
They've named suffix of the year as ussy. I think it's so funny that first of all, American Dialect Society, God bless you. Thank you so much for your contributions to us. It's a collection of linguists, lexicographers, etymologists, professors, historians, and scholars. And they declared on Friday, the 6th of January, that ussy is the word of the year.
Can you imagine being in that meeting room? Like, you know what suffix I love? Ussy. Why? It's because of bussy. Boy pussy? It's like that. Like, and the historians are like, oh, I've not investigated the origins of this ussy. Like,
Yeah. Ben Zimmer, chair of the American Dialect Society's New Words Committee and language columnist for the Wall Street Journal, said the selection of ussy highlights how, quote, creativity in new word formation has been embraced online in venues like TikTok. The playful suffix builds off the word pussy to generate new slang terms. The process has been so productive lately on social media sites and elsewhere that it has been dubbed ussification.
Thanks, I hate it.
I hate it so much.
I hate the word bussy.
Yeah.
How do you?
I don't like it.
You've never texted someone and been like, "Let me get in that pussy."
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, I'm offended that you would even ask.
I don't know what things you get. I don't know what you do with your dick. And this is part of it.
Well,
I have a mussy. It's a man pussy.
Oh, I see.
This is not meant for boys. This is for men.
I see. Would you ever call it a mussy cat?
Meow. Hold on, I gotta hawk up a hairball.
Bussy has been around for a while, but it gained meme notoriety when Rocket Man star Taron Egerton read out thirsty tweets on YouTube. And one tweet that he read during the 2019 segment said, quote, Taron Egerton is a white boy that I trust to destroy my bussy. And that's when it became more mainstream. He was apparently very confused and asked a person behind the camera what a bussy is before being shocked by the answer. Lil Nas X joked that his bussy water broke when he delivered Montero.
Well, yeah, he had that whole publicity around he was pregnant and yeah.
Yep. And apparently bussy is not the first ossification that happened. That throat pussy.
Oh, I heard of that after bussy.
The origins are before that. It went viral on Tumblr before bussy became a thing.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
I'm a pussy.
Runners-up included insurrection, fake news, dumpster fire, and other topical vocabulary. That's the news.
You skipped right over Tweri's input, and I think that was on purpose.
I'm afraid of the Tweri haters, Kyle.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think that they're motivated and
or they're organized, they're motivated, they're condescending as fuck.
Their rage knows no bounds.
They have opinions.
Look, the first death threat we've received.
Oh, congratulations to us. I love that for us. Things I also love for us are getting new Patreon members. So I would like to thank the following Patreon members: Yoshi Sawatsky.
Good.
I think that was a good swing.
Yeah.
Augusta Wind. And
oh, come on now.
What?
Did you read that last week?
I don't think so.
Oh.
If I did, you got twice the name for only the one price. You have to pay us more next month.
Because I love me a pun.
Did you have a good pun or a bad pun?
The name?
Oh, I just heard it.
Okay. Okay, great.
I was so scared of reading. You know, like when they call you popcorn and then like all of a sudden you can't read anymore. This is like me. Whenever I'm looking at my notes, I'm like terrified that I'm going to forget how to read. So I don't like. Okay. I record this show terrified. I don't know if you know this. Okay. Andrew Bugby. That's not a pun, is it?
No.
You have to tell me.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Indy with a Y.
Just Indy?
Just Indy.
Like
with a Y.
Like the Joneses dog?
Like the 500. And Chaz Jackson.
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Sorry, Miss. Woo. I am for real. Thank you to all our new Patreon members. If you want to join to get bonus segments every week, bonus episodes and Mom's Planning every month, and ad-free episodes and episodes a day early, and lots of other stuff, you can look at all the benefits and options at patreon.com/Gayish podcast.
And if you want us to do a tour this year, sign up, because we're so close to tour time.
We're so close to tour time, hashtag tour time, and we're so close to doing a commentary track in our original very first episode, which is something that y'all said y'all wanted. So help us get there.
Do it.
Are you ready?
You're talking about sex tourism?
Finally, yeah.
So, Patreon, you all voted for this.
Overwhelmingly.
I
don't think I've seen a wallop since Floyd Mayweather was in the ring with, I don't know any sports references. Since the Dodge baseball team beat up the Mets in 92. I don't think I've seen as overwhelming of a vote on our Patreon vote as I have on this one. 90% or 80% or something of you voted for sex tourism. The other two options got like 10% each of the vote. So you want to hear about sex tourism real bad, or at least maybe you hated the other two options. I thought your other, so you did this, so you keep winning. Good for you. And I put in...
That's why we're doing a survey, so that maybe you can learn about our audience.
Maybe I can learn enough to win. There's going to be a secret Kyle question that's like, help me win. help we all win if I win. You also put in popes, which that was timely, and that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
And
it's not happening now.
Nope. Miley Cyrus, you and I just picked that. Like, we wanted to do that one because she did the New Year's Eve performance with Dolly Parton. She has a new album coming out, and I love her. I don't know we'll learn more about how you feel about her.
Yeah.
In the episode, if you're subscribed to the Patreon.
Yep. Is she another Taylor Swift?
Oh,
you have to find out.
Yeah. Does Mike hate her? Okay.
I put sex tourism because I wanted to talk about sex tourism, and then I realized, well, after the vote had begun, I don't even really know what it is. What is that?
Oh my God. This was one I was like, it was just guesses based on the phrase, I didn't actually know what it is. I want to talk about just real quickly.
Yeah.
Sex while you're touring, not sex tourism, but the CDC has pages on both sex while you're traveling abroad and sex tourism.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah. It was like very interesting that they had a page on sex tourism because it's an important health issue that needs to be addressed, and we need to not be embarrassed about it. Yeah. Like I'm embarrassed about the word pussy.
Yeah.
We need to actually talk about it. But some of the stats that when traveling internationally, not sex tourism, just having sex, approximately 20 to 34. What?
Not tourism, just banging.
Just banging abroad. Yeah. Approximately 20 to 34% of international travelers engage in casual sex.
Sure.
And of those is like 43 to 49% have unprotected sex.
Oh, wow.
This is where it becomes then a health issue, and especially a public health issue that we need to care about. And it mentioned in the thing, it was like, because all this was like referencing studies that have been done to say, here kind of the ranges, the estimates, and it said studies are conflicted on whether men who have sex with men use condoms more or less, or engage in riskier behaviors,
or ever.
Okay. Well, this is you're playing into the stereotype that I was angry about. Like they didn't bring up any other category of people with non-definitive answers. They didn't bring up anyone else and say like some data says yes and other data says no. So you brought indecisive information that doesn't help me at all about men who have sex with men, and the only reason is because the assumption is that we have risky sex with no condoms.
It's like in the news when they do a story, but they like include the word may in the headline, and then I stop listening.
Yeah, or like alleged. Like that is just everywhere just to cover their ass. They really just want to say the thing they're saying anyway.
Yeah.
Like they know that people will ignore that word and just believe it's true. It was I don't know. Do you think that should be included in that?
I think it's a thing that they should have studied, and if they didn't, then shut up.
Well, they looked at other studies that showed conflicting data. If there was information that said men who have sex with men are at significantly higher risk for this thing and this thing, but it didn't have that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think then you look at sex tourism. That's just general sex. Like we're already worried about having sex while you're traveling internationally, much less a more specific kind of definition of sex tourism. So I think that's why this is important to talk about and think about.
Yeah. Well, you're touching on what I think is the confusion for me, right? Like there are places that you go that you are a tourist, and if you have sex there, is that sex tourism? I think that there's the thought of sex tourism as being the businessman who disappears for a week to Thailand.
Yep.
Or goes to Amsterdam and lives in the red light district for a while. And I don't know. Did you have a thought or a feeling about the phrase before the episode? Is it
those were like, okay, is that like traveling just to have sex with someone? Is that
right?
Then there is like sex work. There's so I don't know. I didn't know the difference between any of this.
Well, the Wikipedia article for sex tourism just says that sex tourism refers to the practice of traveling to foreign countries, often on a different continent, with the intention of engaging in sexual activity or relationships in exchange for money or lifestyle support. Now,
you seemed
they go on,
lifestyle support. That phrase seemed to, you said that in a different way.
So I'll come back to that. They go on to say this practice predominantly operates in countries where sex work is legal, but there are countries where laws prohibit sex work that people go for sex tourism. Now, I have a couple of problems or questions with that definition. The first is is California a foreign country?
To whom?
Because it's all about me, Kyle. It's always about me.
Oh, to you? No. That's it. Wow. You've never given me such an easy question that I could softball in there. I know the answer. California is part of this United States. I will die by that.
I appreciate that for now.
There are 48 states in this country, and I remember that.
Great.
The other two aren't connected. How do they count? You have to be touching to count.
All right.
That's what I say about polyamorous couples too.
Yeah, right? Yes. So I don't understand the foreign country requirement. I think that, I think it should still count as sex tourism if you fly to rural Nevada to go to the Chicken Ranch brothel.
Is that a real place?
That is a real place.
How is it?
I've not been.
Are you having?
It's lady sex workers. Kyle.
Oh, okay. So they're referring to them as chickens.
It's the Chicken Ranch. They raise chickens there.
And are the chickens ladies, or are they actual? Are they real chickens? Is what I really want to know. I'm confused. Is this? Was that a lady acting like a chicken? Is that the benefit? What is this?
Which came first, the chicken or the lady? Jesus Christ, Kyle. The Chicken Ranch is a very famous brothel.
Oh.
I think it was actually in Texas, not in Nevada.
Oh.
There are several in Nevada because prostitution is legal in the state of Nevada.
Because of Las Vegas.
But it's not in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. So
interesting. You have to go out.
Sex work in the city of Las Vegas is illegal because it is in Clark County, but the rest of the state of Nevada, sex work is legal.
Huh.
And regulated. And there are brothels.
Interesting.
Legal operating brothels.
I think
at least there were before COVID. I don't know. They might have all closed down.
That's a tough business. Yeah, like everyone switched over to OnlyFans, and that's kind of... Yeah.
Sorry, you had a thought.
Oh, I mean, internationally, like there are different concerns for domestic versus foreign kind of things, and it's like, you know, managing, you know, I think all of this is around the spread of STIs. That seems to be like there's a lot more like sex trafficking and other things to worry about, but a big health concern is STIs. And I think internationally, that's, you know, we think a lot about, you know, what happens in our country with STIs versus what is brought in from other countries. And so that's, I think, a big part of where I feel I'm like not saying this. I feel like there can be a shitty way to say this, to say that like, I don't know, traveling other places like gives you disease, and I don't want to do that. That's why I'm like not saying it great. International travel, no matter who's going where, the globalization of the world means that things are more likely to spread, and I think that's why we're more concerned about what comes into the country from elsewhere that we're not prepared for, or don't know about.
Yeah. I'm with you. I agree. I just I think that the importance of the foreign country thing is more about sex trafficking and applicable laws and immigration patterns.
That's true. Or foreign laws are different, which is what you said in the definition. Like that makes that's a reason for people to travel internationally, is because it may be legal elsewhere. You know, sex work may be legal, and things you can do might be totally legal in other places, which is why they go to certain places.
Right. I don't know. The foreign countries needs to be in there for my working definition, or like what I want to talk about necessarily.
Okay, like I don't know, if I travel to Eastern Washington, like you're missing such a big part of the concern. I'm
trying to give you the opportunity to say that me flying somewhere to bang a listener is sex tourism.
Oh, fuck, I changed my mind. God damn it, you were setting me up so good for that. I didn't. Yeah, no.
It's great. It's not.
Cut all that. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I do think sex tourism can happen domestically. Let's talk a little bit more about that, Mike. Have you considered or done that anytime recently?
Yesterday? No,
that's where we were going with that, right?
What I also think is interesting, though, in the definition that I do want to talk about is
Mike will fuck you is what I'm saying to everyone,
or let you fuck me.
Yeah, that's true. I don't.
But it doesn't just have to be for money. This definition, anyway, specifically calls out lifestyle support. And I don't know what they think is wrapped up into that, but I am going to assume that, like, picking up dinner, paying for an Airbnb.
I have information about that in my study.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. You're right. I shouldn't tease you along with not a very big payoff. Speaking of that, how was your trip?
Great. We'll talk about that later, too. Okay. Off pod, probably.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now I want to talk to you about the history of sex tourism.
This, to me, feels like something that's like since people figured out other people existed, they've probably been traveling to fuck them. Like, in my mind.
So, excellent point.
Oh, really? Thank you so much.
No.
Oh,
now, because this is really interesting to me. The idea of travel as something that you do for leisure is a pretty modern thing.
Is travel for leisure the new thing, Mike? Is it a leisurely new thing?
Or leisure?
Yeah, I say leisure.
All right, fine.
Like a regular American.
Great. That's new. People haven't had the mobility, the technological capability, like cars and airplanes.
Or you build your kind of group and other outsiders almost scary, like you're almost defending your territory against other people. There's a community and insider versus outsider kind of thing. That's like,
yes, absolutely. It is a relatively, in the history of modern, human interaction, a pretty modern thing, and therefore sex tourism, the way that we were just talking about it definition wise, is also pretty new. A lot of people say that it has to do with sex work being a thing in a place, because sex work is the world's oldest profession. It's the traveling there to have the sex work happen part that's sort of new-ish. But having sex work be a thing in a place, and then having a war happen, and having the military come, particularly American military people, who then utilize the sex work services in that location.
Yeah.
And then after the war is over, the men going back there because they had a good time and enjoyed that.
They're there with their bros, and those who didn't want to get down with the D because it's convenient are like, okay, well, where else can I go then to fuck?
Yes. And over and over again, I saw specifically the military as being the vehicle for the modern sex tourism trade. Specifically, there was some in World War I, a lot more in World War II, particularly in the Pacific. A lot of our ideas about Asian sex tourism come from World War II.
Man, there's a stereotype of like our assumptions. You mentioned Thailand already. That came up many times, and there are certain locations in the world that we have such a stereotype that it seems
Southeast
to me,
Asia, absolutely. Yeah.
It seems like to me might be more likely to be true, but then it's one of those things you run away with, and that's all you think about certain cities or countries, which is the shitty part of like ignoring that there's a full, diverse, rich,
fully realized.
yes, there's more than just sex there.
Yeah. Although, like Thailand, can I say the H word? Like,
Hummer?
A common epithet that I have heard, at least growing up, is Thai hooker. Like that's a phrase that goes together because like that's what Thailand is for. And I think that's. I mean, I don't want to use that phrase again, but like I think that like the fact that rings true or like is a
not rings true is like a phrase that feels right.
It like right in an icky way.
Yeah.
But is because Southeast Asia has this reputation as being where such things happen.
Pangina Heels has talked about this. We had her on talking about self-harm and that whole separate thing that was not gayish, but like I would love to have her back on. She's talked about Thailand and is doing like a TV show to show how rich, interesting like the food there is and the history and its people and all these like cool things about it. I want to have her back on. I would love if she would come on the show and talk about Thailand, because there are such big stereotypes that we have about Thailand, and I would love for her to be able to speak to this. So we'll see if we can get her again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and if you could give her a call, Kyle. You have her on speed dial, don't you? Yeah, Thailand specifically, sex work has been documented for at least 600 years. And there was a lot of soldiers, U.S. forces during the Second Indochin War and Vietnam, who then utilized sex work services in Thailand and then started going back even after the war was over and they were back with their families. But the big boom seems to be Vietnam. That Vietnam had the economics were there for people to do international travel. The infrastructure and technology, airplanes and whatnot, was there. And you had a whole bunch of American service members in parts of the world where sex work was more readily available. That seems to be, the 1970s really seemed to be the heyday of where sex tourism got its start. Which I was just surprised, because I expected, like you, that like it was going to go back a bajillion years.
We always be fucking.
Yeah, but not really. Yeah. There are a couple of examples where it was true, and one of them is horrible. But we're going to talk about it.
Ooh.
So, in Cypress, Aphrodite is one of the ancient Greek goddesses of, among other things, sex. But apparently. There was, it just blows me away. So apparently every single woman in Cyprus was expected to go to the Temple of Aphrodite at least once in her life and fuck someone for money. So Paphos is a place that had this phenomenon, but it was the 5th century BC. And the Greek historian Herodotus wrote, quote, "The foulest Babylonian custom is that which compels every woman of the land to sit in the temple of Aphrodite and have intercourse with some stranger at least once in her life. It applied to all women, high and low, although rich ladies would drive to the temple in covered carriages to get their business done." This is quoting Herodotus. "A woman could not refuse payment. Once a stranger had made his choice and cast money into her lap, she would be forced to have intercourse outside the temple."
This feels like Bible shit to me, of like, look, the Bible says this thing has to happen, so it just has to. And it's like, oh no, this thing says you have to do this, so you just do.
Yeah.
It's giving me those vibes.
Yeah, and then he adds the very dickish, "Ugly women might have to wait for years before someone comes along."
My God.
Yeah. So apparently, though, it became such a thing that, yes, every single woman needed to do this at least once in her life, and many would continue to as a way to make money.
They would do it once, but a whole bunch of times in a row.
Yeah. The Temple of Aphrodite became a draw for people to come in and take advantage of that arrangement. So men would travel from places not Cypress to go to the Temple of Aphrodite because here are all these women and they had to put out if you gave them money. And it's you're making the right face. You're making an emoji face. The one with the grimacing teeth. And that's the right face to make.
Yeah, that's the one I use most often. It's top in my recently used emoji list, 'cause that's how I feel so often in my life, but now particularly, yeah.
But yeah, BBC, the British Broadcasting Company Corporation, that BBC, BBC Culture says that, yeah, it was an ancient form of sex tourism and has lots of the same sort of overtones to it that we worry about with modern sex tourism, of like who's being taken advantage of and is it compulsory or, are they there by choice?
And clearly legality does not indicate things like consent. Like we think about legality as useful, and I still think it is, but that's not the end all be all to this. Could be something that was very legal. And if it's compulsory, that's like,
yep.
Gross. Yeah.
A little bit later, I'll talk about the history of gay sex tourism, but, you're going to give me some Gata first.
Oh yeah. Okay. Here we go, Mike.
Great.
Gata.
Let's do it.
I looked at a study called Beyond Sex Tourism, Gay Tourists and Male Sex Workers in Puerto Vallarta, Western Mexico, a 2012 study by Cristobal Mendoza. And
Puerto Vallarta, putting the PV in HPV for decades.
Putting the PP in PV. Wait, and P in the B? It's not P. There's no PV in, it's PB. Anyway, yeah, so this was a unique one. It talked about initially about all of the existing work that's been done on, first of all, it just started with tourism. So much of even the research on tourism, like it's a recent thing to look at sex during tourism. Then it also added that a lot of times studies look from the white male tourist's perspective, that's a lot of studies are, very focused on the demographic of what do white men do or think. Yeah. And so this one, I liked it because it was a qualitative study where they talked specifically to the sex workers in Puerto Vallarta to understand from them what's going on with them, what do they think, what do they feel, all that stuff. And a little bit about Puerto Vallarta, because that's what, like, that to me was like, oh yeah, that's a gay place.
Yeah.
Does that, like, Palm Springs, like
Absolutely.
Fire Islands? Yeah, okay. Some stats that the average tourist in Puerto Vallarta is a 36 to 50-year-old man from the US or Canada. More than 35% of its hotel capacity is for gay men.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Wow. I mean, I knew it was gay. I didn't know it was that gay.
Very, very gay. You go to 3 hotels, one of them is probably focused on gay men.
Yeah.
The economic spillover from gay tourism is as high as $4.5 billion annually.
Woo!
And it is the second ranking among the international homosexual destinations. for U.S. visitors.
They it's funny they refer to the pink dollar a whole bunch.
Oh yeah,
right, as being like, they want that gay money.
Yeah.
It's but in the UK they call it the pink pound.
No.
And I think pink pound just sounds like,
we call it bussy now.
yeah, exactly.
So, the study was back in 2012, so keep that in mind in terms of like numbers and stats. Okay, so they observed or talked to sex workers in late 2007. To find sex workers, they talked to local organizations that already worked with them. They talked to the staff at gay places, so they would probably know, who hangs out there. They used the internet. They asked, when they talked to a sex worker, they asked about a friend that they could talk to in a method they called snowballing. I love snowballing with sex workers.
Yeah.
And
there's no snow in Mexico.
But there is snowballs.
Yummy.
Of the 12 sex workers, I thought this was real interesting. 4 self-identified as homosexual.
Okay.
6 identified as bisexual.
Wow. Okay.
So 2 identified as heterosexual.
Sure.
Was that disbelief I sensed in your voice, Mike?
I don't know. Yeah, probably.
How
much dick did they suck?
But okay, do you this is a little bit different, but gay for pay? Do you think that's a thing?
Respond in centimeters. No. Yeah. Okay. It is.
See,
it absolutely is.
Okay.
It absolutely is.
Change that tone.
I know. I'm sorry. Look, if there are a lot of straight go-go boys who are actually straight, and I believe them, and like they're very, very hot, and they are straight,
and they let you touch them,
and
so
I give
good
them money anyway.
Yeah.
So
okay, deep down though, where you want them to be, deep down, is there part of you that doubts that a gay sex worker, that a sex worker that has sex with men, that they can be straight? Is there like a...
Well, the thing is, like, I could barely have sex as it is, much less with somebody that I'm not into. So, like, the idea that people are capable of performing the act if they're super not into it is the disbelief, right?
I've taken tons of dick that I wasn't super into.
Well, I mean, are there straight bottoms?
We'll talk a little bit more about that.
I just assume that the straight ones are tops, but
we'll talk.
I just close my eyes and stick my dick in there.
But there's a prostate in there. Like, there are people who like enjoy receptive anal sex and aren't gay because like there's a literal pleasure button inside your butt.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So, another self-definition of like sex worker. Like, how do you define what you are? 3 people, and I'm will only say these words because they are self-definition. 3 of them said escort, 3 said prostitute, 1 said masseur, 1 said transvestite. Again, that's a word that don't use unless someone self-identifies that way. 2 said, and this is a word I'm only going to use because they use it again, mayate. That could be the things I looked up were divided on, in this context, men who have sex with men but reject a gay identity.
Okay.
Which was interesting. Other definitions of this said that this was a derogatory word similar to the N-word of someone of African descent. Like there were these conflicting definitions, and in Urban Dictionary there was like a fight. Some people were like, no, this has nothing to do with that. It's not this offensive. And so like I don't know enough. I won't say that word again, but like that's how they describe themselves. 2 did not answer.
2 were just like, yeah, pass.
Yeah, I think so.
Were they the straight ones?
I assumed those were that other word that I won't say again, because it was like they have sex with other men but reject a gay identity.
Yeah.
Or maybe that could be
I'm not gay, but my dick is.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm just going to read you some of the things they said that I thought were interesting.
Great.
Or some of the findings.
Okay.
Oh, one of the I wrote 19 sex worker. That's the 19-year-old who was a sex. There weren't 19 sex workers. I got horny for a second. Didn't know why. A 19-year-old, one of the sex workers who's 19 years old, talked about this one who identified as transvestite. They used he pronouns. I don't know.
A transvestite is a he.
Could be. I guess. I don't know. They use he pronouns. So I'll use he pronouns. He was the only one that talked about having issues with the police. And another person, when talking about this, said transvestites are frequently arrested because they work on the streets. They give a bad impression. Gay sex workers are in a bar or on the beach, but not on the streets. Transvestites work with low-income locals, and we prefer foreigners. There's an interesting time and place and look that is acceptable. And I actually think this is similar to what's acceptable and what's happening in the US of it's okay to be a gay white man. It's not okay to be trans. I think if you have a trans look about you, if you are public, that's when you are more likely to get accosted by police.
Murdered.
And murdered.
Yep.
And the idea that it is okay, it's more okay when you're working with foreigners, when you're working with tourists. I think that comes down to money. That brings in money is useful. And the idea of working with low income locals is like frowned upon. It's just very interesting that the times and places where it becomes more acceptable and when it's not.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Let's see. A lot of them talked about it was very easy getting into sex work. It's harder to get out of it.
Oh.
Partially, you start making more money than you could working other jobs.
Sure.
So it's harder to get out of it in that way.
Yeah.
Some of them came to Puerto Vallarta specifically because it was more accepting. So it was actually kind of a gay mecca. And there's this interesting thing where sex tourism can not only help people traveling there explore their own identity, but it can also then influence the local culture. If gay people are flying to this area to go be gay, then there's more gay people visible, then other gay people in Mexico could be more likely to go there because it's gay.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So it's this weird kind
of San Francisco in the 50s and 60s, right?
My God, I have a thing about that.
Oh, okay.
It's a Tony Bennett song. Don't worry about it. We'll talk about it later.
I left my heart in San Francisco.
Yeah. I'll just mention it now. That was written by two gay dudes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you knew that?
Okay.
I thought that was interesting.
Was it Cole Porter?
It was written by George C. Corey and Jr. and Douglas Cross. Douglas has two S's on the first name Douglas because that's how you know he's gay.
Oh, yeah.
A gay couple who recently moved away from San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yes, that exact same idea of like the people traveling there for sex can then influence the culture. And I thought that was interesting. Most of those interviewed, and this is the phrase that the research said, internalized pleasure but externalized guilt.
Oh, what? Okay. What? Like
they enjoyed sex. They enjoyed living this gay lifestyle as they described it, but they blamed others, like their friends, like these tourists coming in, like the city itself blamed them for getting them involved in sex work to begin with.
That's interesting. It's convenient. No.
I wonder how much of that is. Yeah, it is a little bit easier to blame others for the hard parts of it.
Yeah, that seems like a way to just get around like the judgment of other people. Like, I fucking love my job. I love to fuck, and they pay me. It's amazing. But also, I had to.
Yeah,
because this other shit.
Well, yeah, you're right. That is like how you deal with it. That sucks that that people are judged for that and need to find someone to blame to make it so it wasn't their fault that they're doing that. Yeah. Most are in it for the money, but it's not just the cash money. This is the other things they were talking about earlier. Some of the things of value that they could get. They could be dinner. It could be clothes. It could be a place to stay for the night. And it was interesting because like one person talked about how they didn't have like a rate. They just talked to them about their financial situation. I have rent due or I have whatever. And the tourists often would like understood that, had money and would pay for some of those things. Or like while they were there during that time, they would pay for their experiences or things. So that is part of the kind of income or value or lifestyle of this. I have like more things. Maybe I can tell you a lot more about the studies on the Patreon, because there's like a lot of interesting things about like just when we got into like research on sex tourism. One said that there are these stereotypes about the sex workers themselves that are why people are going there. And the word that they described that I would not use in most any other context is exotic.
Oh, yeah.
But the idea that like one person was more light skinned, and he was like, it's harder for me to get work because they are coming here for a dark skin. They're coming to Mexico for a dark skinned, a look and an attitude, a machismo attitude that is these stereotypes that we have are assumptions of what it means to be Mexican, but that's what they're traveling there for.
Yeah.
And so you will make more money if you fit that assumption.
Yeah.
Penis size. I forgot that one. That's also like an assumption about people with darker skin. That's an assumption that the stereotype that people bring in with them that they want from sex workers.
I was reading some about that being true for straight people also, right? Like but specifically the phenomenon of middle-aged white women traveling to Caribbean countries or African countries for an exotic thing. I encountered, I think the term was dreadscort.
I haven't heard that.
An escort with dreadlocks.
Oh,
because that's like the thing that she's going for.
Yeah.
And how very problematic it
is. Oh, yeah. That's like the assumption that someone has a big dick is one of those positive stereotypes that can feel real shitty and dehumanizing.
Yeah.
So but that is part of, and people that are sex workers understand they're looking for, like, there's a look to this that is important. They talked about like age, like only one was 37. That was the oldest. Most were in their 20s. A couple were in their teens.
Yeah.
And 5 out of 12 said they wanted a future outside of sex work, and they worried about as they were aging what they were going to do then, because it's not forever. It's like being a model. Like this is
porn star.
We were a porn star. Yeah. In terms of orientation, this is the last thing I'll talk about. For one of the straight sex workers, they asked, physically, are you attracted to them? Are you aroused by men? And the sex worker answered, let's say I like it when they touch me, but being with gay men isn't really for me.
It's so interesting.
I agree.
Is it like in the like just human contact is nice regardless of who the human is?
I was thinking that too. Like, yeah, if I could get over my own bullshit, I would cuddle with women. I would touch hugs with women. Like, there's something about human touch that feels good.
Yeah.
A woman playing with your hair. Like, I like that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's different than like, I'm not physically attracted or want to have sex right then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some even talked about, this is like back to the like kind of machismo. Some of them, the way they define, like one had a kind of a big reaction and explained that, especially in countries with this kind of macho tradition, that they clarified that they do not get penetrated. And that's, it only makes you, and you've talked about this before in other points in history, like it's only gay if you're the receptive partner.
Yeah.
So there's some felt the need to reinforce, even with the interviewers, that they were basically the tops.
Yeah.
Some are in it for the pleasure. And so it's not, there are people that liked having sex with people. They enjoyed it. So that part was fun. But this is the quote I'll leave you with. Sexual practices may be negotiated, but sexual identities do not.
Wow.
That seemed to be their takeaway, that they are willing to, even some people that describe themselves as heterosexual are in this, but your practices do not change or influence your identity of, are you straight or gay?
Yeah.
And I think that happens. I think we see that. I think that's true outside of sex work, something that I'm coming to understand, that the way people describe them is not literal. Here's all the actions I do, so I'm going to be descriptive about my actions. You have an identity that is a separate thing. That's how you describe yourself, that may or may not correlate to what you actually do physically.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting about human sexuality that I don't think enough people realize.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and like, there's so much more to identity than just the who you bang. And
yeah.
That's
then a
like
literal
you
description.
could have a whole podcast about that.
Someone should do a good job at that. That's the study I had.
Awesome. Well, as promised, I was going to talk about the history of gay sex tourism.
Sweet.
And something you said felt like a really good segue, but I forgot what it was. So
yeah, like I said, someone should do a good podcast about these topics.
So gay sex tourism is very similar to straight sex tourism in a lot of ways. There's a study, that said, quote, leisure activities and holidays have a particular significance for gay men as they provide an opportunity for constructing, confirming, and or changing their sexual identity. quick aside, this there's this whole thing about the sex tourism as being a way to just like dip your toes into the water of Lake Faggot. Like,
yes.
I'm not sure if I'm gay. I'm going to go on a sex tourism adventure to test that theory and see. There's this like internal conflict about my identity, so I'm going to go on a sex tour and be super gay in a foreign country for a short period of time and evaluate how that feels. And I think that's brilliant and sad and interesting.
It's a risky proposition. Even if everything works out, it's like, I mean, you've described your first sexual experience, like so much weight that you placed on that of whether I'm gay or not. Like that's a lot of weight to place on a really specific situation you've concocted, that if it goes poorly, not because you're not gay, but just because this is a weird situation you're using to explore, like it's just so much weight to put on that one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And yet there's enough people that do that it's like there lots of analysis of those kinds of behaviors. However, gay sex tourism and straight sex tourism tend to go to different locations. They there is some overlap, but popular gay sex tourism markets, the lists are different. I'm going to do the game later, and I don't want to give you any of the answers.
Ooh.
So gay sex tourism history, back to the history stuff. Really?
Hey, history fans, listen up. It's your time again. You get to this episode. Good news.
When do you think the first gay tour company started? A travel agency that would send you on a gay adventure.
90s. 1990s.
Great. He Travel, H-E Travel, was a merger between Hans Ebenstein Travel and Allison Adventures. The roots of that company started in the 1970s. So they started doing rafting tours in the Grand Canyon.
For gays?
For gays.
What gay is like? Oh, okay.
And to Rio for Carnival. What?
Oh, I'm just writing down Rio later to guess.
Oh, yeah. That was like the beginning of it. And then a bunch of gay hotels began opening up in Key West, Florida. And that's about the same time that Provincetown, Massachusetts, P-Town, became a thing. And they started actively marketing to gay and lesbian travelers. And there was a sexualized, sort of seedy overtone to all of this. But
if you were that public about it, you were probably some kind of sexual thing. Like, you didn't see marketing for like Delta now presents, seats for gays. It's like a regular seat, but it's rainbow.
Right. Although companies are starting to do that, right? Like, this article that I'm referencing here came out of the New York Times. It's called The Evolving World of Gay Travel. And they were making the point that all of these companies that are getting accused of using trying to get access to the pink dollar or the pink pound, that they're new and exploitative, and like this is the first time that we've been targeting gay people to get their money for travel purposes. And meanwhile, this guy from He Travel was saying, quote, "There's a sea change in the last few years, and people are skeptical of companies suddenly trying to tap the LGBT market. The thing is, it's already been tapped. Gay and lesbian people have been traveling for all time, and in fact, they were some of the first travelers because they were people who didn't feel accepted in their own communities." This get the fuck out of wherever the fuck you're from and go to somewhere where it's fucking okay to be there. It is a lot of where gay travel and sex tourism stuff started. But then I also wanted to talk a little bit history-wise about Morocco.
Wait, so my guess of the 90s, it was earlier than that?
70s.
It was 70s? Okay. Yeah. That they were, the origins of those still marketed themselves as gay even back in the 70s?
Yes.
Wow. And rafting, I guess they're pulls and you get splashed in the face. I'm trying to think of what the value is.
I don't know.
You're there's a big hole. Okay, I don't know.
Well, and also the idea that we're going to do this. We're going to go on this rafting trip, and then we're going to fuck, right? Like,
I guess that's like gets your heart. You're like, ooh, I almost died. Let's have sex with each other now. I don't know. Morocco. There's
this really interesting story on BBC.com about how Morocco apparently was a gay haven and a gay travel destination in the 1950s. So there was a family-run hostel called El Muniria, and apparently it's this place where like a bunch of gay American and British authors traveled to and hung out. And we even know like what room. So in room 9, William Burroughs, you know who William Burroughs is?
I've heard his name.
Author. Apparently he wrote The Naked Lunch, which is one of the 20th century's most shocking novels, according to the BBC. He was high on drugs and wrote the book, at least part of it, in that room.
High and gay.
Yep. And Allen Ginsberg apparently stayed there, and Jack Kerouac stayed there. Apparently, the American novelist Paul Bowles would stay there. But the author asked the owner of the place, why were these giants of American literature so attracted to Tangier, Morocco? And she said with a smile, quote, "I think you know the reason." And it's because before independence, Tangier was in an international zone that was administered by several different European countries without a very rigid rule of law. There was basically no police, no oversight. And despite being a very Muslim country, especially now, at that time, it was largely just unregulated, and homosexuality was more or less tolerated, or at the very least not prosecuted. And Allen Ginsberg in 1954 wrote about Morocco, quote, "I go to bed with an Arab in European clothes. Several days later, I meet an Arab in native dress and we repair to a Turkish bath. Now I am almost, but not quite, sure it is the same Arab. In any case, I have not seen number one again. It's like I have been to bed with 3 Arabs since arrival, but I wonder if it isn't the same character in different clothes, and every time better behaved, cheaper, more respectful. I really don't know for sure." But the idea that you could whisk away to Morocco to bang dudes in the 1950s is just so counter to what Morocco feels like now and today. And there's just this weird quirk of history that like it was, at least briefly, a sex tourism destination for gay dudes.
Huh. I've been there.
To Tangiers?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Did you have sex with any sex workers?
I was not out then, so I wasn't even having sex with anyone. I was, but secretly in my room with my roommate. This was we went to Marruecos, as you call it in Spanish, during the between summer study abroad sessions in Spain. So I went there for a week. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Half of us got stomach things, I think, because some of the food that they took us to eat was both delicious. First time I ever drank tea and liked it. I've liked tea once in my life. It was this mint tea in Morocco, which, God, now that I say that sounds so douchey. I'm so happy for me.
Gay.
And very gay. And I'm guessing the food is why I got why half of us had these stomach issues. And then we had to go back and tell our Spanish mom that was hosting us to not make us that much food and only make us chicken and rice. And that was a very difficult thing for a Spanish lady to be that you just would get mounds of rice and so much chicken and still have flan for dessert, which I still ate because how are you not going to eat a Spanish lady's homemade flan? Anyway, but I know I didn't fuck any sex workers was the point, I think.
Well, I was surprised at how far back specifically gay travel for sex tourism has been a thing.
Yeah.
And I can leave it at that.
Why don't I want to do this game that I'm gonna.
All right.
God, I love embarrassing myself on this show.
All right. According to gaytravel.com in 2019, the top 20 gay friendly destinations in the world for sex.
Okay, this is specifically to have sex with.
Top 20. How many of them can you get? Here we go.
God, I can't wait to cut this out because I sound so stupid. Bangkok,
Thailand is number 6.
Woo!
You're doing it.
I'm gonna go Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta is number 1. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Wow, this one said it was number 2, at least back when it was released, and it didn't say what the first one was. So I should. Rio de Janeiro.
Rio de Janeiro is not on this list, but Sao Paulo is, so I'm going to give it to you.
Oh, thank you.
They're
This
different
is the kind
cities,
of they sound different when I say the names out loud. I do hear that. Thank you. I'm gonna go Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, Netherlands, number 8.
God. Okay. I'm gonna go Canada, just because the laws. I don't know what their laws are, but they seem like they're like a pretty chill place. So I'm gonna go Toronto.
Toronto, Canada, number 12.
Woo!
You're doing so good.
Are there places in the U.S.?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 locations in the United States on this list.
Okay. New York.
New York City, number 2.
Palm Springs?
Palm Springs, USA, number 16.
Okay. I now should I just go with the big ones like London, Paris?
London, England is number 5. Paris is number 11.
Okay. Well, okay. So if I'm going big cities now, Rome.
Rome is not on the list,
okay.
which I think is maybe the Catholic thing.
Oh, yeah. The Vatican's like right fucking there. They're like, we can see you from here.
Although now it's a big destination for sex tourism because Pope Benedict is dead.
And we can just fuck on his grave now. They don't watch that.
Well, he might still be out of the ground.
Oh, really?
This
There's still time.
body.
Is what you're saying. I might be out of guesses.
All right. The other U.S. Locations, San Francisco is number 4.
Ah, fuck.
And Miami is number 7.
Oh, I wouldn't have the Golden Girls. They built, weren't they in Miami?
Yep.
They've built a foundation of gayness that we've continued growing.
Going from the end of the list back, the ones that you didn't get, Barcelona, Spain is number 20. Tokyo, number 19. Hong Kong, China is number 18. Brighton, England, which I would not even in a million years have gotten that one. Buenos Aires, Argentina, which I fucked a daddy there. That was fun.
Yeah, was it sex tourism or just tourism is sex on tourism?
It was tourism in which sex happened.
Yeah.
Copenhagen, Denmark is number 13. Berlin, Germany, where I saw a guy get a dick tattoo, is number 10. Madrid, Spain is number 9. And last, Tel Aviv, Israel is number 3, which I know I've heard Tel Aviv is super gay and like has a lot of gay shit happening, but I did not have like number 3 gay sex destination at all on my list. But
yeah, samesies.
Yeah. Anyway, that's gaytravel.com. Thanks.
I think that we should save for Patreon.
Yeah.
I might tell you a little bit more of the findings from the study because there were lots of interesting things that the sex worker said that, and I didn't cover all of it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. I think we should talk about that stuff on Patreon.
All right, let's do it.
We didn't talk as much. I want to make sure we talk about you.
Oh,
you have sex when you travel.
What about you?
What about I don't do. I'm a classy broad.
You liar.
I know. I just think of...
I don't travel anywhere. They travel to me.
Actually, that is one thing that I do host, but it's mostly out of laziness. It's mostly because I don't want to have to like go to you. Like,
pussy.
I get in this pussy. Give me those cummies. God.
That's way worse.
I know. I hate both of those words. Baby gravy.
Great.
Okay. But I think of you as being more likely to travel to a place specifically to fuck someone.
Well, okay. Now we're putting a finer point on things.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's why I associate, like, I will, if I happen to be traveling, like, sure, I will probably get blasted and then get blasted. But
sure,
like,
yeah.
But, you know, I would not like book a flight because like, hey, I'm going to go fuck this dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have, and I do. Is that sex tourism? I don't think so. Maybe.
I don't think so either.
It's something though, isn't it? It
It's
feels
a
like
thing.
it needs a name. It doesn't.
Is that why you're differentiating international sex tourism and just sex tourism? Like there's a domestic sex tourism?
And I'm not going there to pay for sex, although I am paying for sex to happen.
Oh, I mean, don't all of us pay for sex in some way?
And then I also,
right, ladies? Oh.
And then I also, like, I was just in Palm Springs this last week, and like, I paid for a bunch of shit. Like, and is that that's not cash changing hands, but that's like under the guise the lifestyle support or whatever the fucking phrase was in the Wikipedia definition.
You paid for dude's lifestyle support? Do you paid for like dinners or nights or something?
Yeah.
What? Like what?
Like dinners when we would go out to eat. I pick up the tab and
okay, Daddy.
Pay, yeah, very much, and pay for drinks when we're out roaming around and.
You're making yourself sound like a high roller that just travels around and like spends money on like his.
Get my DMs, boys.
I guess it's what it's. You're making yourself kind of. You're putting out a sense of yourself that is like I think a part of you, but not all of you. But like, it's still there's a part of you that does that.
Oh, you mean like my real life, or
yeah. That's not like that is a part of your identity is paying for people, or like showing up in a place and picking up the tab. That people would like categorize that as daddy behavior, but there's like that there's more to you than just those things, but I think those things are included in part of your behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm also not anti-sex work. Like I'm not above at all going somewhere and utilizing the services of a sex worker, which is really interesting, right? Because I watched this movie. I'm obsessed with this movie. Have I ever talked to you about this movie?
I don't know.
You'll have to say what it is. It is Best of Luck to You, Leo Grand.
Mm-mm.
It could be just titled Emma Thompson Hires a Sex Worker.
I've seen. That's like on Hulu or something?
Hulu or Netflix.
Yeah.
But it's Emma Thompson hires a sex worker. Like most of the movie is just the two of them in a hotel room navigating all of the issues of sex work and what's going on and the transactional nature of it, the issues of like she's in her 50s or 60s or whatever and not feeling like very attractive and all of the like weird human connection things or like lack thereof. Anyway, it's an excellent movie, and I highly recommend it, and everyone should please watch it because I think it's amazing. And Emma Thompson's boobs are in it a whole bunch. But
if you want access to a free 30-day trial of Hulu, go to hulu.com. I think you can just do a free trial. I don't think you need our code. We don't have a code. I think you can just go there and get a 1 week free trial. This is just my personal plug for Hulu. Hulu, we're less transphobic than Netflix. Ding.
I do think that it is interesting if I look at myself from the outside and analyze my own behavior. It is interesting, or what's the word? Why can't I come up with this word? Oxymoronic? No. Conflicts. It doesn't make sense that I, in my normal, personal, everyday sex life, require human connection. We talked about it on the Demi episode, whatever episode that is, that is such a important part of me having a fun, successful sexual encounter with someone. Also enjoys this very transactional, we're doing this because I'm giving you money arrangement. And that doesn't compute. Like that conflicts.
Yeah.
And yet it is true. I love Go-Go Boys. I love to give them money so that they like pay attention to me and I get to touch their bodies. And like, that's weird. That's weird. It like not the behavior. I totally support the behavior. It is so out of touch with so many other things that are also true about me and my sexuality.
Well, I think we have opposite anxieties. I get more anxious if I am paying, and I don't know that we've even talked about this. Like, I have hired sex workers before too. So also like both personally as a person, things I support and like monetarily I've done this, but like I have opposite anxieties of like when I've most recent time, it's been a while, but like the most recent time I did not do anything like BJ's is the most I did. Yeah. Like I didn't want to do any more. It was like kind of someone I was like one of those people, like kind of someone to hang out with and like you had a nice dick, like, but I didn't want to do more because like my anxiety is like, oh fuck, now you have to, I know you don't, now I have to do what I'm paying you for, and do you really want to or do you really care? Whereas you're the opposite, like there's something that helps reduce anxiety or barriers or something that is useful to you in enjoying it, which I think that's so weird that like these are like literally opposing anxieties that the same thing flips both of us in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. we're very different people, Go.
I guess so. We should make a podcast to talk about it.
I also think that like I don't know if I want to talk about this on the pod, actually. Awkward segue. There is a significant difference between like hiring a sex worker in which like here is a cash transaction for in exchange of what's going to happen, or even like a go-go boy of like here's money in your jockstrap for this thing that is happening. That is not the same as what I conceive of in myself as being just generosity of like paying for an experience and showing someone a good time. So it's interesting to me that all of this literature about sex tourism includes stuff like meals and experiences and not necessarily cash in the definition of what sex tourism is. I'm sort of uncomfortable with that because that's not how I feel about it.
And it's also, if you take a sex worker on a date and you eat food, and you take a non-sex worker on a date and eat food, why is it that just because one is a sex worker is that included in the price of sex work and the other one is a date? Like, this is, I think, where our judgments of what it means to be a sex worker and our judgments of sex. And you talked about money exchanges, not necessarily hand to hand, but there's money being spent in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And the same thing that happens if it's with a sex worker, all of a sudden that's part of the payment for the sex worker.
Yeah.
Which that's shitty that those are treated so differently just because of my profession is as a sex worker.
But like even your talk about the stuff in Puerto Vallarta and the Wikipedia definition here would suggest that traveling to Puerto Vallarta and having someone, I think a sex worker or not, that you are paying for stuff, even if you're not paying them for the sex that you have, is still sex tourism.
That's where I don't think so. If we're doing a strict definition of sex tourism as like it is a payment for sex, and that can include lots of different forms of payment. I think this is where I think we have these weird definitions that places judgment on sex work. I think if you go and travel and meet someone that's not a sex worker and you just hang out and hit it off and you're like, we're going to hang out for a little bit, we're going to go out to dinner, hey, I'm going to pick up the tab, not because I expect anything of you, just maybe that's the expectations of it, are the like, is the expectation that you're paying that and that's part of this exchange that now you owe me sex, and the only reason I could do that is because you're a sex worker and we kind of know that going in? Or like, what's the difference between that and just meeting a local who cares what their job is and you decide to hang out and have dinner?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is the expectation that someone has that I'm paying for dinner as part of my down payment on sex? Some people have that expectation when some shitty dudes in the U.S. go on a date with a woman and they have that expectation that they're paying for her and that I deserve sex out of this. So like, what?
Yeah, that's her job. No, I'm kidding.
If she has to go to the Temple of Aphrodite and it's the lines get really blurry on some of those, and I think we would, if the person was a sex worker, we would assume everything you're buying for them now is part of the payment. And I don't like that. That's what I think we would do, but I think we would. And I think you do all those same things to someone who's not a sex worker, and we treat that like you're dating.
Interesting.
I think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I went to Palm Springs last week and met this dude, and yeah, he's a listener. Don't make that face. And we stayed in an Airbnb, and I paid for the Airbnb. I paid for our groceries. I paid for our meals. I paid for the Uber. In part, it's because this boy's 21 years old and like doesn't have the like disposable income that I do. And we knew part of this trip was going to also involve sex in some form.
Yeah.
Does that change anything about the meaning or the value of what I did? Right? Like, did I accidentally make him a sex worker, or does he think that he is one? I guess I could ask him, and like, because I didn't give him any money, but like beforehand, we knew we were meeting here in this place to do some stuff, and that I would be paying for it.
Yeah. And that's where I think like literally the only
and not a date. It's not dating. Like part of your flipping it over is like, we call it dating unless that person is a sex worker, but this was not a date.
Yeah.
I don't think. No, it wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, like, I literally think if his profession was a sex worker, we would call that like, yep, that was your payment. And if he's not a sex worker, we would not call it that. And I think that's where our judgment of sex work comes into play, and how if you really break it down, I think it's not as clear cut as sex work or not. I think we do a lot of things that sell our body for time that may not involve sex. That I just think I think it that scenario actually reinforces if you told me that he was a sex worker and you did those things. Now maybe I think I'm coming back to the expectation that he could have anyone should be able to opt out at any time. I don't want to do this. But if there is an expectation that I'm buying these things, and that is part of, then now that is part of my payment to get sex from you. Maybe that's what is maybe that's what defines that as sex work versus like, we're going into it expecting to have sex, and I'm going to go there and I just happen to be paying for stuff at any time. This person can say like, you know what, I like not feeling the sex thing. Can we just hang out? And you would have been like, sure, absolutely, let's do it. So like, that wasn't a down payment, you know? Yeah. That wasn't payment for a service. That wasn't payment for sex. I don't like any of that, but I think that the expectations and the profession of the person, I think that's what then makes it in our head turn to sex work. And I don't think reality is that easy, but I think that's how we categorize it. To make ourselves feel better or something. What do you think? Do you think you made him a sex worker?
No.
Yeah.
I don't. I really
But
don't.
if he was a sex worker, how would that have changed things?
For me, I don't think it would. I don't think it would. It's mostly this newfound, like doing this episode, this newfound idea that other people might has me like questioning the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
if he happened to be a sex worker and you said you went there, you paid for meals and a hotel, and part of your like conversation was about sex, I think some people could put that in the category if that was payment for sex.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, are sugar babies just sex workers in denial?
Ooh. What is capitalism but sex work without an orgasm? This is where we stop the episode, right?
All right.
I think this is the mark that we're near the end.
Did we do it?
Yeah, we did something.
Yeah.
We toured in the arena of sex work.
Yeah. Well, sex tourism was the topic, so I hope we did it.
Yeah. You all come take a tour in our Patreon and pay us for it, and that makes us your sex worker.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're doing sexual content for money.
Yeah, we are.
Are we sex workers? We're vocal sex workers.
Bring it.
Fuck my voice. Let's
take voice in your ass.
Let's stick your phone in your ass so that my voice can be inside of it. Let's take a break.
This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break.
So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're gonna do our Gayest and Straightest.
We're gonna do our Gayest and Straightest, but first,
remember.
But first,
remember to fill out the survey. Help us make this show better and amazing for you to love and enjoy even more than you already do. Go to gayishpodcast.com/survey. And we want to get your input and help us be honest. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you want us to do differently and better.
Yeah. Also, but first, I think for the very first time, two listeners that have no reason to know each other except our show are together.
Yeah.
They're a couple. We made a couple, Kyle.
We made a relationship happen.
We birthed a couple.
Ooh, and boy is my bussy tired.
Yeah, Mike Covington and truck driver Jacob they're together.
Thank you. Why does he thank you? Thank you to them for giving us this opportunity to bring you two together. Oh no, that's really sweet. If you listen to our podcast, you'll get a boyfriend.
Yeah. Keep listening, everybody.
Isn't that so annoying that they've gotten boyfriends, but I haven't?
Right.
Shouldn't I be the one that gets a boyfriend from this show?
Yeah.
fucking assholes. I'm going to break them up.
Okay, great.
Okay, Gayest and Straightest?
No.
Oh, okay.
Local gay bar review. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about The Edge in San Francisco, California.
Sure, edge me.
Yeah, I'm going to edge you. So The Edge, it's a place that I actually go to pretty regularly. It's not a new thing because I worked for Salesforce, did not get fired in all of the layoffs last week.
Didn't get fired yet.
But I'm down in San Francisco with some regularity because that's where headquarters is, and I also have friends there, and it's fun there. Anyway, The Edge, it's a smaller bar, but most of the bars in San Francisco are sort of smaller. But has a lot of TV screens in there because on Mondays they do Musical Monday sing-alongs, and that's what I did when I was there. If you're not familiar with the format, lots of different places have sort of copied it over time, especially like I don't know where it originated, but like Sidetracks in Chicago is another place that like has this same idea of they just like basically play YouTube videos of shit that gays love that has music to it, and everybody just sings along at the top of their lungs. It's mostly like Broadway musicals and like Disney movies. Yeah. But yeah, it's fun, and I was there for a week for work and went out on Monday with a friend, and we like sang our little asses off, and it was great. 3.5 dildos. That's
no one objectified you is what I'm trying to pick up the, what would have gotten it higher. No one objectified you, and you didn't go home with anyone. These are things that could have improved it, I think.
That's right. I have had a 4.5 dildo trip to the Edge before.
These rankings are situation specific too.
Oh yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Well, sure, but like
what I mean is like I will reevaluate and let you know.
All right. That's a challenge to these gay bars. Earn it if you want it. Nice. But
okay. Our website is gayishpodcast.com.
Our social media. We're on social media sometimes at Gayish Podcast.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails. 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474. Standard rates apply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109. We got a thing.
Ooh. There's so much happening on this episode. What do we get?
We got a thing. It is from A.E. Coleman in Chickasha, Oklahoma, which I know it's said it that way because he wrote Chickasha, pronounced Chickasha.
That's very sweet. Chickasha away.
And it's a t-shirt that says rosé, please.
Oh, and there's a glass, and in it is a rose. That's beautiful. I love it. I'm wearing it now.
There you go.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I love it. I'm gonna wear this tomorrow probably.
Okay, now we can do our Gayest and Straightest.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, great.
My gayest is watching the movie Don't Worry, Darling. It is the one with Harry Styles.
Oh, God.
There was what?
Nothing. Just like you're telling me a little bit about the.
Oh yeah. Like someone else explained I only knew about the drama behind the movie, not anything about the movie itself. I watched it with a guy that explained the drama behind it. We did a little bit of cuddling and kissing. So there's like a boy there too that made it gayer. But like, yeah, that whole situation, the whole drama, the whole like, did Harry spit on Chris whichever one?
Yeah.
Like. Which that's hot, but like, yeah. Anyway,
yeah,
just everything about that movie.
That's the keys for the drama. Like, way overshadowed the movie, just like Jesse Williams' dick for that musical about baseball.
Yep, it was a good movie. I liked it.
Okay,
it was Get Out for white women.
Great.
So the straightest is I missed my haircut. Which like haircuts are like, gays are always like, I feel my most powerful after this, and I like so to miss it is to miss a charge up or something. So,
yeah. You skipped on.
Hair.
Okay. Yeah. So the straightest thing about me this week, I was down in Palm Springs, and
gay.
we well, that's gay. Yeah. But we went to the dog park, and I had
Biodogs.
Okay. I had oh my God, a gay bar called the Dog Park.
That has to exist already, right?
Okay,
anyway. You just take all your dogs there and let them sniff each other and whatever.
But one of the other like dog owners there, which I assumed all of the old men with dogs were gay, but apparently not, because I had a full on conversation with one about Damar Hamlin, the football player that had a heart attack.
Oh yeah, God, that's terrifying.
Yeah, but Football. We were talking about football.
Yeah.
And then the gayest thing about me this week was I went to CCBC in Palm Springs, which is a gay nude resort or clothing optional sex hotel, as Davey Wavy would call it. And it just felt really, really gay to be in a naked gay space.
You can't just drop that at the end of an episode. How was it?
It was good.
Okay. That's all you get, listeners.
Okay, so we had to leave the Airbnb at like 10 a.m. because that's how Airbnb rolls. But my flight wasn't until like 6, so I had to be at the airport at like 3:30 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a full on like 4.5 hour like gotta kill some time. So I was like, let's go to the sex hotel then and kill some time there, and mostly just sat in the hot tub. And I was for sure like in the bottom quartile for age range and like I don't know, but
I'm usually in the bottom quartile, but that means something different to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a listeners every week. Derek posts to Instagram a request for your gayest and straightest, and posts
and we read every single one of them, you bitches.
I'm gonna pick one, the straightest, trying a variety of really hot sauces. Hot sauces seems like a straight thing to me.
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's like straight people put hot sauce. I don't know. I just think of like hot or like not spicy, but hot sauce. That feels straight to me.
Okay.
I agree with you. You're not convinced.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the nature of this show, I guess. Accidentally thematic. Gayest is I picked getting asked to be someone's sugar baby.
Ooh. Yeah.
How do you know if you're involved in sex tourism? Ask yourself these questions. I think that's it.
Oh, it better be. We've been going for a while tonight.
We've been going for a while tonight. Worst things.
Sex tourism.
Yes. So thank you to the following sex tourists, our super gap bridgers, Andrew Bugby. Hi, welcome. Christopher M., John Crowley, Stephen Porch, Yost Oshel, Harry Shaw, Josh Copeland, Jonathan Montañez, Forrest Nail, Patrick Martin, James Barrow, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Tribby, Just Jamie, Kevin Henderson, Thomas B., Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. I didn't give Michael his... Hi, Michael. I said hi to you, and I didn't stop as long on that one, and I got anxious. Hi, everybody, and specifically the two new folks. We appreciate you, and thanks for your money, and yeah. Great. I did it.
That's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatori Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you. Ooh. That's the sound of your pussy crying. Now, here's the news. I've never done that before.
How did it feel?
Felt like I was like a dom top for once.
Yeah.
I hate it.